Hello everybody, BlastCapBadger, and yeah, I sound like absolute dog that was fed its own gastric juices and then was given a whole lot of pineapple juice back to back for like a week straight. That's what I sound like right now. I get it, I know. But I must continue the show. I must. So, yeah. Please become a member to, support the absolute insanity of me being sick, or I think I'm sick, I don't know, and still continue to do this. So go ahead and click that join button next to the subscribe button, or down in the link box, in the link description box down below. There's a link there that says join the channel. Go ahead and do so. It's really cheap too. So, big secret, if we can get like at least 500 of everybody on the channel to click the join button, only 500, we don't need much more than that, then yeah, the channel would basically carry itself and we wouldn't have to worry about nothing. But that being said, enough shilling for myself. Let's get into what the latest and greatest and most wanted is going to be, and it's going to be Count Dankula. Count Dankula, absolute mad lads, CHALINO SANCHEZ. The name sounds kind of familiar, but also I'm distracted by the fact I'm not perfectly opaque behind me. But whatever, baby steps, baby steps. Okay, let's get into it, shall we?
We've talked about musicians quite a few times on Mad Lads, mostly for their crazy antics, attitudes and behaviour. But this musician is here for a slightly different reason. His bravery. Now, it's one thing for a musician to speak out against the government, consumerism, the military-industrial complex and so on, where the worst thing that can happen to you is a record label just might not be too keen to sign you. But today's Mad Lad spoke out against the cartels.
This might be the same guy who, spoiler alert, went out with a bang. No wonder I've heard this name before.
Well, the worst thing that can happen is, well, let's just get into the video. CHALINO SANCHEZ. Bars and other venues. But it's sometimes better to be financially comfortable and barely known.
I knocked some stuff around. Where were we? We were back here somewhere, I think. Yeah, my bad. I knocked something over. This job is dangerous. So click the join button.
Rise to War is celebrating its anniversary in the game, so there is plenty for you to do and be a part of. This is the best time to get started in Lord of the Rings. Please use my link in the description down below to download the game or scan the QR code that's on the screen. It's as easy as that. You will also receive a limited Hobbit's Adventure package for doing so. New sponsor, plus it's Lord of the Rings. Show them some love. Click the link. Rosalino Sanchez Felix was born on the 30th of August 1960 in Culiacan, Mexico, as the youngest of 7 children, and he lived on a small ranch named Rancho Las Flechas, or Fleches, or Flejas, I've absolutely no idea, and I don't care to find out. His parents, Santos Sanchez and Senorina Felix, brought the children up through extreme poverty, so all of the children grew up in a very harsh environment. As a child, Rosalino daydreamed about one day becoming a singer, and like most young boys, he would get into trouble, but usually for relatively minor things, which may have had something to do with the fact that his mother passed away when he was just 6 years old. Rosalino decided that he wanted to be referred to by his nickname CHALINO, since he thought his birth name was too feminine sounding and he was likely bullied by the other kids for it. The ranch that Chalino was brought up on was no stranger to criminals passing through, since the road nearby was used for drug trafficking. He would regularly see armed men on motorbikes and men guarding large trucks, which were keeping an eye out in the territory.
And people, there's a lot of people who are like, you know, there's a lot of people who have a hard time with me. Although I'm not on Instagram or Facebook anymore because I got nuked on Facebook and Instagram. By the way, click out the other links in the description box down below. I've got new socials, so go ahead and join those. I have to get posting on them pretty soon. But yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, Mexico is not nothing but cartel. Did I say it was all cartel? Did I say that? Did I specifically look to you and say Mexico is nothing but cartel? Nunca. I never said that. I never said that. But I did say the last time, the absolute last time that I was anywhere near there, you know, I was told by, you know, a condensed report from all the intelligence agencies, okay, that just in Ciudad Juarez alone, 1 out of 7 is either working for the cartel, affiliated with the cartel, or knows somebody or works with somebody who's in the cartel. So, yeah. You tell me. Oh, whoops.
For rival gangs. A lot of these men were seen as heroes by the locals because for some of the locals, the only way for them to make some decent money was to work for the drug runners. Chalino and his siblings seemed to turn out okay despite their tough upbringing. But where there is poverty, there is always crime, and people in the area that were willing to take advantage of others. There are also those that like to come and mess with people that they see as lesser than them. And during Chalino's childhood, he would see many horrific things that no child should see. In 1975, when Chalino was only 15 years old, he was forced to witness his sister Juana being kidnapped and, you know, by a man called Hector El Chapo Perez. Not the El Chapo, this guy just had the same nickname. And this guy was not only dangerous, but also very wealthy and may or may not have had ties to the cartel. On top of kidnapping and abusing Chalino's sister.
So he had ties to the cartel. He was part of one of them. I guarantee you that much. I guarantee you that much.
Perez also spread some very nasty rumours about her that I'm just not going to repeat. Understandably, witnessing this whole ordeal mentally broke Chalino, and he swore that one day he would get his vengeance on Perez, saying that as soon as he became a man, the first gun he buys would be released into Perez's chest. And true to his word, only 2 years later, at the age of only 17, Chalino saw Perez at a party in the nearby town of El Vizcaino, or Vicano, I've no idea. He watched Perez for a while, knowing exactly what he was going to do. You know, building up the courage like in the restaurant scene in Godfather. And then, without hesitating, Chalino walked up to Perez and put 3 bullets in his chest without saying a word. Now, as far as getting caught by the police and being charged with murder, Chalino was fine, because Mexico. But Perez was a powerful man, and Chalino was just a poor local. So, after killing Perez, he had to go on the run, and fast. And Chalino immediately left for Tijuana, but since he was totally unprepared, he did actually just kill Perez on a whim, right place, right time. He had no life there and no job. So he had to find a way to make money. And since he had just shot a very well-known guy, he couldn't exactly just get an everyday job where he could be recognised.
Yep, pretty much. And then, of course, that would come back to get him, right? This is a consistent thing, actually, in Mexico. Like, in Mexico, there's very few guys who are in power now. Actually, a very rare, incredibly rare few guys who are in power in some kind of cartel right now that were the same exact dudes from, 5 years ago. Almost a totally different roster. That's just how it goes. That is just how it goes. And I tell people all the time, hey, look, you want to see what happens when you gave the government way too much power? We got a perfect example of that right next to the border. Right next to the border. The corruption is so deep. And just the imbalance is so large. But of course, these people are going to say all this dumb stuff about oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you haven't been there, have you? Have you traveled outside of your little town? Oh, you went to this music festival a couple towns over? Whatever. Are you still in the USA? Okay. Oh, you've gone to a couple of countries traveling. Oh, as a tourist. Oh, as a high-paying tourist. Okay. So basically you stayed in the USA. Silencio, pendejo. Silencio. Cállate. Cállate.
So he leaned further into criminality, and he made his money as an immigrant smuggler, a coyote as they call it. And there was plenty of money to be made since Tijuana borders California, a very profitable location for a coyote.
Not to mention, right there at the border of California, there's huge sections of the border, or at least I don't know if they are anymore, but back in the day, there used to be huge parts of the border, super far away from the freaking highways and the roads and everything, way the heck far away, where you would literally go walk up to the fence and it'd be maybe 10 feet. You could vault that sucker and then be in Mexico. You'd be in Tijuana. I don't know if it's the same way anymore, because I know that California hated Trump and they love bringing in illegal immigrants and migrants, and they love bringing in the cartel too, because they bring more crime and murderers and all that kind of stuff, so that they can use them as a good scapegoat to keep getting power, essentially. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. Wait, so they hated Trump. They brought in a lot of illegal immigrants as a sanctuary state. They do that all the time. And California's doing really bad right now. So, I wonder if there's any correlation there. Also, California's been doing bad for about 15 years. I wonder what's been going on. Oh, wait. It starts with a D.
After some time, Chalino decided that he could have a better life in the United States, just like the people he had smuggled in. And since his occupation taught him everything he needed to know about being undocumented, he decided to smuggle himself and his brother Armando into the country. And at first, they tried to settle down in Oregon. However, they quickly moved and eventually worked their way down to Los Angeles. He may not have had much while living in another country, but he was surrounded by family, and he and his brother lived with one of his aunts in Inglewood, California. And while he was there, he took on multiple jobs, some of which weren't illegal, such as working as a busboy and driver for local restaurants. The more illicit jobs he had were things like selling weed, cocaine, and stolen cars. And on top of that, he continued helping his brother smuggle people across the border.
Of course. As you do. As you do. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, he was a criminal. And there's no way you're smuggling people without being involved with some kind of cartel. There's no way. Absolutely no way. And who are you getting the drugs from? Who are you selling the drugs possibly to? Also, who's at the back end of you stealing cars? Just saying.
While living in the United States, things were going pretty well for Chalino. In 1984, he married a woman named Maricela Vallejos, and very soon their first baby was on the way. They had met through one of Chalino's cousins, and they married pretty fast, and the ceremony was small and without too many people attending. However, the happiness of the wedding didn't last long, and things took a major downturn when Chalino found out that his brother Armando was assassinated in a Tijuana hotel by someone he thought was a partner. It turns out that Armando had, in the past, killed someone very important to the partner. So the partner played the long game to gain Armando's trust so he could kill him when he least expected it. The pain that Chalino felt from this situation inspired him to finally live his childhood dream of becoming a musician. Chalino wrote his first corrido to preserve his brother's memory. He based the song on the event and the reasoning behind his death. And he also wrote another song about his own escape after the murder of Perez. Unfortunately, things went from bad to worse for Chalino, as he was arrested, possibly due to evidence found by the police in connection with his brother's people smuggling operation, as well as other illegal activities.
You know, I would think it's not a good idea to write a song about having committed murder in another country. I would think you would want to keep that one close to the chest. I would think. But hey, what do I know?
Though, luckily for Chalino, it was mostly petty crimes. Chalino was sentenced to serve 8 months behind bars at Tijuana's La Mesa prison, and since there isn't much to do in jail, he turned to his love of music and he started to write songs about the life and crimes of other inmates. And one of the ways to do that was to memorialise their stories in a corrido, something that people would actually pay a commission for. This music was composed to tell the stories of both heroes and bandits. It told stories about real killings and the cartel's drug business, and the content of the songs were actually pretty horrific, though you wouldn't think that to listen to them. You know, he's singing about things like drug mules, standoffs, the Mexican Revolution, gambling, serial killers, and murders, as well as murder-suicides. Which is kind of strange because if you don't speak Spanish and you're listening to the songs, it does not sound like that's what he's singing about.
Yeah, a lot of people they'll hear it, okay? They'll hear this type of music. I don't know if YouTube still has it to where you can't say a few certain words. I don't know. But yeah, once you hear it, right? A lot of people, when they hear it and they don't know what they're saying in the song, they're just like, "Hey, orale, y'all," or all the other people, and I'm like, y'all have no clue. Y'all got no clue. Y'all got no clue. Oh man, it's still good music. It really is. It's kind of equivalent to hardcore gangster rap. It's just Mexican style, essentially. But yeah, people, they hear it all the time. They hear it all the time, and they have no clue. They have no clue. It's quite funny.
The stories that Chalino told in his music were all based in northern Mexico, and anyone from there would be able to relate to the songs completely. Though Chalino did have a softer side, and he wrote some more positive romantic songs which were a lot more marketable. But the songs about crime, yeah, not so much, since record labels knew that when it came to anything to do with the cartel, it was a lot better if you didn't get involved and just kept your mouth shut. But the inmates who heard Chalino's corridos liked them so much that Chalino started to make a small amount of money from writing them after the inmates commissioned him to write songs that praised their crimes. And because of these songs, Chalino was gifted with jewelry and even guns. Guns in Mexican prison? Yes, there are guns in Mexican prisons. Chalino ended up getting...
You know, pretty much everyone's been able to get a gun or make a gun or, you know, somehow acquire a firearm in almost every prison. So people who think they are safe in prisons, you're downright wrong. You are downright wrong. You got no clue. You have no idea. Have you ever been to just jail for like, I don't know, like a month? Have you ever spent just a month in jail? Just a month. Okay, you haven't? Okay. Yeah, no. Just avoid it. Just stay away. Just avoid it. Because prison is like jail on like super steroids, depending on where you live. Right? And so are quite a few juvenile detention, juvenile halls, like in California. Those juvenile halls are something else. Or at least, I don't know what they're like nowadays. Actually, I imagine they're even worse today, so, you know, there's that. But yeah, like, bub, people can get guns anywhere, can get weapons anywhere and everywhere, if they really, really want to. So, yeah, what is the thing I'm always telling people about never giving up your right to self-defense in any capacity? What is it? You know, never compromise on safety and security. I think it's something like that. But you remind me.
Getting involved with some powerful criminals, many of whom were rivals. Chalino didn't pick sides, but in the cartel business, you don't really have that option. A group known as Los Cuatro de la Frontera, or the Border Four in English, encouraged Chalino to go to a recording studio to show them what he could do. So Chalino went to San Angel Records in Los Angeles. Is it San Angel? Is it San Angel? I don't know, and I don't care. With a bunch of songs he had written. At first, they wanted one of their own singers to cover Chalino's songs, but since their singer cancelled, Chalino would sing them himself, which is what he wanted to do in the first place.
Well, of course, the first guy canceled because this dude's basically singing songs about and for the cartel and like everybody who's been involved with it. That's basically how that all went down. So yeah, of course, the first guy was like, I ain't touching that. I ain't touching that. Hell no. Hell no. Muévete. Muévete. No mames, güey. Like, you know, he was out of there quick.
The audition was a success and they loved his music, despite the fact that he was slightly out of tune. Chalino's singing quickly improved though, and throughout 1989, Chalino recorded 15 songs for his first cassette tape titled El Bandido Generoso, or The Generous Bandit. He had both the talent and the product, but without any promotion, he had to resort to selling his tape to people from the boot of his car. Not exactly a big money maker. Besides keeping tapes in his car, he also stored them at local businesses so he could access them whenever he needed them. He still, however, lacked the help to get his name out there. So he met up with a man named Pedro Riviera to discuss recording through his label, since it would be much cheaper to record with him and it would help him reach a wider audience. And this is where the narco corridos genre was born. Mexican music that focused on cartels and crime.
Like I said earlier, I don't know if it's actually going to affect the channel that he just said that. Oh well, whatever.
Also known as drug ballads. Working under Pedro's label was a huge success, and Chalino's name had spread throughout Los Angeles.
Oh yes, it did. But mostly with Hispanics. Mostly Hispanics. There was a few people of like mixed race and stuff like that, but mostly with the Hispanic parts of town, which was a huge chunk actually. But yeah. So yeah, that's where I remember it from. And then I remember hearing, there was either a shootout on stage a couple of times, or there was like rival cartels would go to his show and they'd show up and see each other there and just start shooting each other. Like, like stuff like that would just start happening. It was really wild.
Promoters everywhere wanted Chalino at their clubs, bars, and other venues. But it's sometimes better to be financially comfortable and barely known than rich with everyone knowing your name. Because your name can end up in the ears of people that you want nothing to do with.
Too late for me. Too late for me. Too late. I'm on a list of some powerful government organizations without having done anything. I've done nothing. But I'm on that list anyways. Coleros.
People like cartel bosses, who Chalino was unintentionally exposing through his drug ballads he was singing every single night. On the 25th of January 1992, Chalino was booked to perform a couple of shows in the city of Coachella. His 10 p.m. gig would be in front of a massive audience of around 400 people at Plaza Los Arcos, which was a lot higher than the actual capacity for the venue.
Yep, it's about to get serious, y'all. It's about to get really serious. Oh, man. Bub, this is where all the trouble starts.
Chalino was wearing a Texan hat with snakeskin boots and a sash pistol, all of which became hallmarks of fashion for his fans. After a couple of hours of taking song requests from the crowd, a 32-year-old local junkie and unemployed mechanic named Eduardo Gallegos jumped onto the stage while high off his nut on heroin and alcohol, and via smackhead logic, he decided it would be a great idea to point his gun at Chalino. So Chalino, as anyone else would do, immediately pulled his own pistol and started shooting. Gallegos shot Chalino twice, with one bullet hitting him in the lung and another stray bullet went into the thigh of the band's accordionist. However, Chalino's returning fire completely missed Gallegos and hit someone else. A bullet had hit an innocent 20-year-old named Claudio Rene Carranza, and it hit him in the leg and severed his femoral artery. Some of you may already know this, but if you are bleeding out from your femoral artery, you've got a few minutes. So, unfortunately, Carranza died at the scene, and Chalino would have to live with that on his conscience. However, Chalino's estate did later pay the family $1.3 million for their loss, and it was also discovered that the security staff had failed to use metal detectors or check people for weapons at the door. During the shooting, the crowd of 400 people started panicking, as you would expect, and People were trampling each other to try and escape, and also more gunshots were heard coming from within the scattering audience, and 11 people in the crowd were injured. Eventually, Gallegos was restrained to the ground by an unknown audience member who took Gallegos' own gun from him and shot him in the face. Chalino and Gallegos were both sent to the Desert Regional Hospital in critical condition. And still to this day, no one actually knows why Gallegos did what he did. It could maybe have been cartel related, but it was most likely due to the fact that he was just on a heroic amount of drugs. Chalino spent...
He said heroic amount of drugs. There is no heroic amount of drugs, by the way. He was kidding about that, okay? He was kidding. Don't take it so seriously. Why so serious? Put a smile on that face. Anyway, but yeah. Just crazy shit would happen all the time. Yeah, just... And then there would be like Cartel shooting each other in the crowd. Like, but after this, his music started to just take off. Or at least I think that's exactly what happened, yeah.
11 days in a hospital bed and was discharged without being arrested because his actions were self-defense. But he would still have to live with the memory of killing one of his young, innocent fans. And since Gallegos was shot in the face, you would expect him to be dead, but no, he actually survived, and he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder and reckless manslaughter. Because of this horrific event, Chalino's name spread even further through news stories, radio, TV, and other media. And as I said earlier, at some point you will become known to people that you would rather have nothing to do with. It made Chalino extremely uncomfortable that he was so well known, so he armed his bandmates and all of his friends in case they were attacked again.
Smart move. That's about all you can do at that point. Short of hiring a whole army, which he, I don't care how rich you are, there's no way you're able to do that. There's no way.
The cartel bosses were obviously fine if someone was singing their praises and stroking their egos without going into too much detail, but when someone is singing songs about the grim reality of living under the cartel, the torture, the murders, the ruining of people's lives with drugs, and many of the other negative things, well, the cartel don't take too kindly to being shown for what they really are. They also don't like it when you are singing the praises of their enemies. 4 months after the Coachella event on the 15th of May 1992, a mostly recovered Chalino returned to the stage to perform at the Salon Bugambilias in his home city of Culiacan. His family told him not to accept the contract because it was dangerous for him to return to Mexico, but the prospect of being paid $20,000 for a single gig was just too good to pass up. The night started like most of his other gigs, and everything was going smoothly. The audience were very excited and happy to see Chalino Sanchez performing in his home city. Until a little later during the show when Chalino was handed a note. And this note wasn't a song request, it was a threat.
Yep. Hey, you can finish your music, but yeah. You're not gonna, this is gonna be the last big bang. Get it? Get it? Get it? Don't get it yet? Okay, no spoilers there then.
A death threat. And people believe that the note said something along the lines of, if you continue singing, you're a dead man. And the band's accordionist noticed the nervous look on Chalino's face while he was reading the note. Luckily, all of this was caught on film. However, Chalino was an absolute chad and crumpled up the note right in front of the cartel members in the crowd. And he continued the show until the very end. After the show, Chalino left with 3 of his family members and a small group of women. But on their journey home, they were stopped in the road by armed men apparently showing police IDs. Now, keep in mind, this is Mexico, which has some of the most corrupt police in the whole world.
Facts! Absolute facts. Absolute facts. Some of the absolutely most corrupt police in the world. There's very few people who and then actually there's a, oh, what's his name? I always forget his name. He's got a very common name. But he was on the Joe Rogan Experience. He was also on Timcast IRL. I'm trying to remember his name. But he's got a story about, leaving the, driving away from the police with the same truck he had driving in. Something like that. I forget his name all the time though. Let me look this dude up real fast. Do I have time? Yeah, I got a little bit of time. Damn. I am failing because I am very bad at this. Very bad at. Okay. Former Federale. Talks about Cartel. Who is it? Of course, everybody completely and totally I cannot at all find this guy. But look at the Joe Rogan Experience. I forget his name all the damn time. But he got interviewed by Joe Rogan and Timcast IRL, and he talked about the cartels on both of them. So yeah, I'll probably have to look him up after this.
A lot of them are just cartel thugs, and they told Chalino that their commandant wanted to speak to him. So, without having much choice, Chalino agreed and got into the car with them. And this was the last time Chalino Sanchez was seen alive. The next morning at 6 a.m, a couple of local farmers found the 31-year-old Chalino's body by an irrigation canal, which was close to the busy Highway 15 near Los Laureles, Culiacan. He had 2 gunshot wounds to the back of his head, a blindfold over his eyes, and rope burns on his wrists. It's very likely that he was put there on purpose so his body would be discovered and send a message. But the message is still a little bit unclear because there are very many reasons why Chalino Sanchez may have been murdered. It could have been linked to his past people smuggling, it could have been linked to him singing songs for rival cartels or for exposing criminals, and it could have even led all the way back to his shooting of Hector El Chapo Perez. And you may be thinking that it was a bit gullible for Chalino to get into the car with these guys who were totally cops, but keep in mind that when that happened, he had his family with him. So, if he refused, I think most people would have done the same thing.
Yeah, most people would have. Me personally, I know that I don't want to go anywhere where I'm not allowed to be armed. And my family's not allowed to be armed. And my friends aren't allowed to be armed. If I'm not allowed to carry there, I'm just not going to go there. plain and simple. Another great thing about Texas, you can carry almost everywhere. Constitutional carry basically everywhere. So yeah, do not compromise on safety and security, no matter where you are.
Chalino's son, Adan, went on to become a successful artist in his own right in the footsteps of his father. But his life was cut short at the age of 19 in 2004, where he was killed in a car accident. Suspiciously, he died in the same Mexican state as his father, which has caused some people to believe that he was also murdered by the cartel. And it's not too far from reality because cartels do often target family bloodlines, but this hasn't been confirmed. Chalino's legacy, however, is not completely over because he is survived by his daughter Cynthia. After his death, Chalino Sanchez was dubbed the King of the Corridor, and he still has fans worldwide. Even today, his music has been streamed millions of times. Like with most artists, Chalino became more popular and famous after his death. Chalino is another cautionary tale of why you shouldn't get involved with the cartel, even in a passive role. But at least he stuck by the words of his songs, and the show went on. He used his voice as a weapon, both for and sometimes against the cartel, and unfortunately, he paid the price. But his songs are still out there and being listened to by very many people. Mostly because his death made his music far more popular. So, when you think about it, the cartels just made things worse for themselves.
There we go, folks. There we go. Count Dankula. Absolute Mad Lads. Chalino Sanchez. Yeah, I sound like crap. I know. You don't have to remind me. You do not have to remind me. Yes, I know. I sound like dog. But, yeah. So, I remember hearing about this when I was quite a bit younger. And just bub. Like, just the insane stuff that would go on. Just insanity that would go on, like his shows and stuff. But it was something else. It was something entirely else. But what did y'all think? What did y'all think? Y'all let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so, you know what time it is. You like me. You like Count Dankula. You like these stories. You like this type of content. You like how the studio production is slowly moving upwards. Crawling and inching. You know, that much. Then please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Then hit the real subscribe button called notification bell. Actually, don't even click that notification bell. Get into the Discord. Because YouTube's not going to send you notifications. They hate sending you notifications. Like 1% of you receives notifications. So, yeah, get into the Discord. Link will be in the description box down below. Way better than YouTube notifications. A lot more fun, too. A lot more fun and entertaining. The stuff y'all get into on there is really awesome. I love it. It's also one of the ways y'all can get a hold of me and, like, you know, get with me on live streams. When I'm, like, smashed and you want to talk about anything, I'm down to talk to anyone. I don't care. So, yeah. Also, that being said, seriously, join the channel. It's only like $3.99 or $4.99. It's one of the two. It's like, it's not above $5 per month. Just $5. Just $5. That would seriously help out the channel. And also keep the channel going. Get it on the path towards self-sustainment, essentially. And also, it'll help me improve a lot of this stuff I'm doing right now. Where I'm trying to improve the production quality and studio quality and all that kind of stuff. You know, as you could tell, it seems like there's nothing but darkness behind me. But that's not actually true. That's not actually true. There's something here. But anyway, that being said, yeah, be good. Be good. All right? Be good. Just be good. Be safe. Don't compromise safety and security for nobody, nothing, nowhere. You work at a job that makes you sacrifice, get away. You live in a state that's run by idiots and voted for by idiots, then get out of there. You know, take the stuff on your back, your truck, your dog, your family, sell everything else, move to a better state like Texas. And then make a good life for yourselves, right? Make a good life for yourselves. We don't know what's going to happen in the next second, minute, hour, week, day, week, month, year. We don't know. Disaster is only ever 1 second away. So make the best of it you can right now. That being said, I'll be out of here. And I will see y'all later. Hopefully I'll sound a lot better. BlastCapBadger out.